All right, guys, it's Saturday morning, early. Sun is coming up. Just want to talk about some good luck, some bad luck, and a couple tips on Agridrain and installing pipes, corrugated PVC in particular. So first of all, the bad luck is, I'll tell you what, every time I come up here, well, first of all, it's drought conditions in the state of Minnesota this year. In fact, it's the driest it's been in over 30 years. And yet every damn time I have a day I'm planning on coming up here, typically it's rained. It's just unreal. I was actually planning on coming up yesterday, which was Friday, but Thursday night a huge weather system blew through, and somebody who lives in this area told me they got over 2 inches of rain. So the bottom side of my floodable impoundment is full of water. Unfortunately, it's so frustrating. I've been trying to take advantage of the drought this year to get as much work done as I can while conditions are dry, and yet I'm still dealing with water. So that's the bad news, bad luck. But the good news is I did get lucky. I think, the appropriate level set on my water control structure. So here's what I mean. Let me walk up there. All right, I'm going to do my best to film this. I'm just have my phone in my hand and don't have a tripod, unfortunately. But this is an inline water control structure by Agridrain. And here's what you need to know. So the way these work is they have these stop logs, so you can set your water depth. Now, the most significant thing about this to know, let me get over here so the sun's not right in the camera. The bottom board in the structure on these inline versions is fixed. Okay, apparently if you pull it out, which you can, I think it's just siliconed in, but if you pull it out, they say you can never get them sealed back up. So all you need to know is the bottom board is fixed. So in other words, when you're installing these things, the bottom of the structure itself is not your water line. The water line is on the top of that bottom board. So that is essential because if you're setting your depth off the bottom, off the bottom of the structure, you're in trouble. So in my last video, I said a laser transit is not a necessity. I take that totally back. It really is a necessity for installing these things. You have to know where you're going. Those couple ducks just got up from the wild rice bed. Anyway, so here's what I want to emphasize. This is my low spot out here, my impoundment, obviously. So I marked an elevation off that, and I came back here this morning. Just bear with me for a second. That's good. I am marked off. Let me turn this off. This thing is sitting on top of my bottom board in here, which means the top of the bottom board is at the same elevation, roughly, as my deepest spot out here. So in theory, I should be able to drain all the water off of the low spot of the impoundment. Now, maybe you're understanding this, but I don't want to be totally clear. You know, had I set my water control structure off the bottom of the structure itself, well, the water would have had to go over that bottom board first before making out. And I think that bottom board is 7 inches tall. So in other words, I could have made a potentially costly mistake here where, in theory, I would have never been able to draw down the last 7 inches of water in the impoundment. And when I left here after installing this thing, I knew I was down, but I didn't know if I was kind of thinking that I didn't set the structure low enough based on that bottom board. And for whatever reason, I didn't shoot that with the laser. I don't know why I did not do that. But anyway, I thought I might have been 3 or 4 inches off. But when I came out here this morning and measured it with a laser, I'm about where I need to be. So I should be able to get all the water and probably not all, but even if I can get it down so there's just 1 or 2 inches of water on the bottom, I guess I'm going to be happy with that. But if you're setting one of these, I just hope that saves someone else some pain and agony, because once these things are in, you do not want to take them back out. The other thing I'll say, this is getting to be a longer video than I planned. I've learned this lesson a few times, and yet I guess I haven't learned it, but I've experienced it a few times. So although when we did set this pipe in, there was water in here a little bit, I was hoping it was going to dry out and then I could get this thing fixed to the bottom. But all I want to point out here is these damn pipes. They are so buoyant. It's just unbelievable. I even have the bottom corrugations. I took a skill saw or radial saw and went all the way across the bottom perforation or corrugations of that pipe, so the water is getting in there and flowing. But even with that, look how buoyant that thing is compared to where it's poking out of the berm. So my point is, if you ever set pipe, especially in dry conditions in an area you know that's going to ultimately be flooded, you have to have this thing totally anchored down. So it either needs to be fully backfilled and buried, or you have to have like T-posts along the side of it and have it wired down, because otherwise this thing, it's guarantee it will be floating on you. And I've fought with that in a couple of my other ponds where I've laid some of this stuff with the intention of it being on the bottom. It's just a huge battle. So those are a couple tips. If you're installing a inline, make sure you do your level off the top of that bottom board, and make absolutely sure that anytime you're laying pipe or cutting a trench that you get that thing backfilled, because you get water in it and man, it is a pain in the rear to get those pipes to set back down. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. This one was a little longer than I planned, but that's what we're up to.